Welcome back to Delphi Live. I'm Roy, and this is Val, and today we're going to be talking about pot melts, which I think was came from a customer, right? I think.
Yeah, I think someone did.
Yeah, someone did request some information about pot melts. We've done some stuff before, but we thought we would revisit it. You can see we got all this kind of nice setup here on the table. And if you have any questions while we're talking, you can always leave us a message in a comments section below. Or if you're watching us not live, I mean, we're live here, but if you're watching us not live, then you can always get us on Facebook at delphiglass.com.
Good.
Right?
Did you do with that?
I read that. I was reading it.
Oh, all right, good.
So that was good.
Nice.
So pot melts, right? So Val and I, we've done these like a bunch, right? I mean, we've done them for a long time, and
it was a long time ago we did them.
Yeah,
we haven't done them recently.
Yeah, so we wanted to revisit it, and so we both made something or tried something, anyways, just to kind of refresh our memories about it. But
so we should say what a pot melt is, or what it's for.
Yeah, what does that mean, right?
It actually is just a way to melt glass into into a patty of some kind, and we use a mold, and the molds are usually put up on some kind of kiln post to raise it up off of the shelf, and you fill it with glass basically, and the glass puddles down onto the shelf, and it gives you a piece of glass that's not like a stock size or a stock pattern that is available. It's like your own version of making your own glass.
Custom creating your own sort of glass. Yeah,
so you can cut it up and use the pieces, or you can use a tile saw. And
the examples we have here, we didn't do a whole lot of cutting up, but you do have an example of here. Valme has one here that she made. That's this is the actual pot melt here, and then fused it to a white base, right? And you can see what this great pattern looks like, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So here's the pot.
That's what the pot looks like.
Pot that we put the glass in, and then it drips down, hits the shelf, and interesting. And I think you're going to talk about the whole situation, aren't you?
The whole situation. Yep.
The whole situation. HOLE.
Is that it? Yeah, not.
This particular one has 5 holes in the ceramic pot, and so you can see that it actually does kind of dictate the pattern you get.
I think so.
I think that different holes are kind of fun to play around with. So this one obviously was matches with this. So
a 5-holder, yeah. So the other thing here, so Delphi sells most of everything we're going to show you for the most part, right? We do sell a kit, a pot melt kit, which includes, I have sort of the setup here,
right.
Which is, it's on kiln posts. It's on these, the setup that we sell is on these 2-inch kiln posts, and we're going to talk in a moment about like what's, it doesn't matter what size the kiln posts are, right? But the kit comes with these. It comes with this, which I think is pretty innovative, right? So this is a way, if you can see the setup I have here, and this is how you set up your pot melt so you can raise it above. And so there's a hole in there. The pot literally just fits right inside there, and then you just mount that in your kiln. This particular one, if you're wondering, the reason why I know we did this one is because it fits in the small, well, I'd call it maybe a mid-range kiln, right? The Delphi Easy Pro 15.6, the Hot Shot 16. This fits in there just perfect, right? It's a great size for that.
But in that size kiln, you use 4-inch posts.
Well,
or can you use 5-inch posts? I think you should use.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. So well, that's one of the issues. I think it's one reason why in the kit we put these 2-inch kiln posts, because the depth is like in both those kilns I mentioned are only like 6 inches, and so if you add those 2 inches, and I'm not sure how tall this is, but you're only looking at maybe an inch or so before you reach the heating elements in the lid. So you want to be a little careful, right?
Yeah, you have to adjust your size of your kiln post for that.
Yeah, based on what you're doing. One thing too is that I sometimes recommend to people is you could take the shelf out, all right, and you could fire on the bottom of the kiln if you're trying to gain an extra inch or so. Again, working with this is a little trickier because the temperatures are going to be hotter on this than you're going to probably do any other normal kind of fusing. So there's some risks there, wouldn't you say? I mean, if you're trying to go on the bottom of your kiln without,
you would
not on a shelf.
Yeah, absolutely need paper. You need to
Paper, you
protect
need
the
some
bottom
kiln
of
paper,
that
fiber
kiln. So,
paper, right?
because
Shelf paper,
that's where
whatever.
the glass is going to drip down. So, and it would be nice if you could just, don't you think, maybe sit a shelf down on the bottom.
Well, you're right. You could put a shelf on the bottom without putting on kiln posts. That would save you,
Give you some,
another little bit more space, right?
Yes.
You know, the couple though that Val and I did, we were working in larger kilns, so we could get away with going with a little bit taller kiln posts. My personal opinion is, I think the taller kiln post gives more activity to the glass as it's dripping out, hitting the surface, and kind of you can see that kind of
Makes the pattern
spirals
a little-
and yeah. I think the pattern's a little more dramatic. So if you have that ability to raise them up or get it on higher kiln posts, I think you'll appreciate the look of it. But even on the one hole one isn't too bad, right? I mean,
No,
I
it
did
isn't.
this one on 4. I know this one's a little hard to see, so if I showed the interior of this beforehand, and we'll talk about too in a moment. I guess we can do it now about color setup.
just keep
I know
wanting
I
to
keep
talk about
pushing
things in a
everything back.
moment.
We're going to
Just
talk
go
about
for
that
it.
in a
Okay.
moment. So. The questions we get asked a lot of times is about how to set up the color. I know Noah, one of the people working behind the
One
camera,
of the guys.
was mentioning about using scrap, right? I mean, to us earlier before we got going, and it is a great way of using up scrap. I mean, it really is. So that's one of the things, the reason why I like doing pot melons, because if you're a fuser, and I'm sure we all have all that scrap that we don't want to get rid of because it costs money. This is a perfect way to use it. If you'll notice on, you want to hold yours up for a second? So if you want, just on comparison, if you see how the glass was laid out, in this one, it's a little more random, right? You'll notice there's not like large areas of single color. And so what that gets you is something that's a little more
Blended.
subtle and blended. Oh, that's a good way of putting it, right? This sort of, I don't know how well that shows up, Jarrell. Is it like, can you see the spiral in there and stuff? Well, is it? I have a light pad here. Let me turn on the light pad if you guys want to see, because this particular one I think looks pretty interesting on a light pad. So I don't know if you can. It almost looks like a rondelle or
I don't
something,
think
but
can
you
come
can't
and
get
it.
that with that camera.
No.
I'll try.
He's gonna try. Good. We got like 47 cameras in here, so we should be able.
But I personally,
Yeah, but look at the one Val's done.
when I do these kinds of things, I really like to do my colors more in compartments. I don't intermix the colors. I put one color in this section, one color in this section, and then I get a little bit
I
more.
got it.
Can you hold that? I'm gonna knock this over
know.
probably because
You can do it.
I'm getting it out. Okay. So to me, it does a little more interesting things.
Oh, I would agree. Yeah,
When you
yeah.
kind of divide your color up. So I don't know if this shows up, does it? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Compared to the.
Yeah. So, but any old way. So if you wanted to do something that was blended and more, there might be a certain situation where that's exactly what you want. So you kind of learn that mixing your colors within is going to get you more of that look. And if you really like, a look where things are a little more separated, then you would do that. Compartmentalize your colors.
So this one was done, the one that Val's showing you is with this one. I know it's maybe hard to see, but this is the pot, right? So you can see it has these 3 slots in it, which sometimes you get kind of a ribbon effect, but I didn't really notice it too much on yours. Oh, did you? You knocked your...
Sorry, guys. I'll be right back. Gosh. It's okay. We're okay.
Okay, we're out. So
We're okay.
it's all good, everyone.
All right.
It was like a little earthquake here or something. That was.
Yeah, it was my knee.
Oh, was it?
You okay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
She's good. She's good. She's a trooper, people. She's going to carry on.
I'm going to carry on.
Well, she just played tennis for 4 hours, so she's probably all right.
Okay.
So, but what's nice about these ones, again, that Delphi sells, is that they come with different holes which create different patterns. I think we've shown you a couple of them already, right? And the one that we didn't have an example of this one where it's got the big slot in it, but as I was mentioning,
That's the ribbon one,
Yeah, what's
right?
nice about this one is you get more of a ribbon and not just a single spot. Like if you look at this one here, which is the single hole, right? So it's a single hole, and you can see where the glass just comes right out in like a rod almost as it's coming straight down. And so you always get this kind of round thing that just loops around. But the ribbon one, as it comes down, it does come down flatter looking, and it kind of folds on itself. It's kind of nice, but we didn't have an example of that one. Mainly, it's like, as always, we kind of ran out of time when we were like, getting these things in the kiln. And
one of the things too, I think that we need to point out, which can be somewhat tricky, I think sometimes when you do these, is the deal with this kind of a setup is, I can't have my amount of glass melt and puddle down on the shelf and touch any of this structure, right? Because if it does, it'll stick. So what we want to do is make sure that this spanse is big enough so that you're accommodating the amount of glass you have in here.
yes.
And so when it does come down, we've allowed for the fact that it's going to spread out and not touch. And I guess you could put kiln paper on these or something if you really thought that the glass might come out. But
people kiln wash them sometimes too, but
yeah, but that is a thing. So you kind of want to pay attention. And we do have this online that
the directions.
the directions, and it does give you a weight and then a size that produces, which I found helpful, because then that way, if you want to make a bigger one and you can get more glass in your pot, then you're dealing with this size of a flat piece, and you need to make sure you have enough room for it to spread out.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because I actually did that, right? Because so on this one, I followed Delphi's recommendations, and I went with the, they said, 2.6 pounds, I'm pretty sure is what they said, of glass. So that's what I put in there, 2.6 pounds of glass.
I did too. I followed it.
Did you follow it?
I did.
Nice.
The size, and
Did you
I
end up with
weighed
like
it.
Oh,
I weighed it.
wow.
I know. I was
Man,
impressed. I weighed it and
that-
everything.
Well, I'm impressed too. That was
I
that was
know.
good.
You would have been.
And then, so the circle does end up, this one circle ended up being 9 1/4 inches. Because I know we're talking to fusers, but if you're not a fuser, glass wants to be 1/4 of an inch, when it's molten. And so it's just going to seek that thickness, right? So whatever volume or weight of glass you have, the glass is going to just seek that 1/4 inch. And so this 2.6 pounds ends up being this is a little over 9 inches. It was like 9 1/4. And to be honest, on mine, I weighed this, and it's 2 pounds. So 0.6 pounds, so a little over half a pound was left inside the pot, which we
Wow!
we
I
can talk
did
about that
I
later
know.
if you want to do that.
I didn't do that math, but I did my math on how much to put in there and how
That
much
was
this
nice.
weighed,
Good.
and then how much glass I needed. It was really.
But it is
I
good.
was
I mean,
impressed.
it's less surprises, right? If you sort of know about what size you're going to get when you're in there. Now, one of the things is that there's differences in viscosities of glass. So, when we're picking a temperature, you might get if this was all black, it's going to be probably come out and be bigger than 9 inches, right?
Yeah.
If there's enough glass to do that. My point of that is more the pot would empty, right? Because it's less viscous, right? So it would come out
Noah's
of there.
nodding, so we'll go with him.
That's right. So there are recommended firing schedules. And that's also, if you're looking at any of the pot melt stuff on our website, it will give them to you. Val and I are always, we're always quick to sometimes question firing schedules, right? One reason why is because every kiln is a little different, right? So even though, in our classes we recommend firing schedules, and on our website we recommend firing schedules, but you don't know if they're really going to work for you until you try it in your kiln, right? So it's possible. I know, like, just for example, on this one, I mentioned before, when I first looked at it, I was like, I wish I had gotten more glass out of here. And so the firing schedule just didn't allow that to happen, right? So it was going to 1600 degrees, I'll hold it for an hour. And that's what I got, was this.
You hold it for an hour?
Yeah, I held it for an hour.
Okay.
Didn't I do that?
Well, I don't know, but just the directions we have online said, I held mine for 45 minutes because that's what it said.
Oh.
Just because.
Oh, it does say 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't care. Maybe you did. I'm not
I
sure
don't know
you
if I
did.
did.
You annealed for an hour.
I definitely annealed
Both
for
of
an
us
hour,
annealed
yeah.
for an hour, which is a little different than
Yeah,
than
yeah,
here.
we're gonna have to
But
go in and
I
talk
think
to
we
somebody
only
about that,
did
so.
that 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, Yeah, you could have held it longer at that point.
Yep,
And-
that's what,
yeah.
so, yeah, it was sort of my point. Anyways,
Right.
after looking at
I knew you were
this,
trying
I
to
was
get there.
like, yeah, thanks. After I looked at it, I was like, oh, I should have given this more time, right, to get a little bit more glass out. Now,
What's the downside of not getting them emptied?
yeah, the downside of not getting them emptied is, as no one knows, as the glass cools, it expands, right, and it will crack the pot. And so, I mean, what's really nice about these ceramic ones is they're really, really durable.
They're sturdy,
They're
yeah.
super durable as long as you can get enough of the glass out of them, right? And I mean, this isn't too much glass. I don't know how well, you probably can't see it too well, but the glass is cracking all up in here because, again, as the glass, it's trying to, yeah, it's shrinking at this point and it's just cracking up. So,
It's also a little tricky to reheat them again if there's a whole lot of glass in
oh,
there.
if it's a big, thick chunk of glass,
Yeah, if there's a
that's
big,
true.
thick chunk
Yep.
of glass, you're
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little tricky to get that acclimated and warming enough without cracking as well. So you just kind of want to try to empty them if you can,
You
or
wanna
get
try
them
to empty
close.
them?
Mine's not totally
Yeah,
empty
and
either.
then so the one thing you have to realize, no, yours isn't as empty, but it looked better than mine. I thought I didn't have. You don't have as much
Yeah.
glass in the bottom as mine did.
So you know what? I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But I just want to say this before I forget. Do you see mine had 3 holes? And so once I got my setup here, and then I just filled it with the glass, and then when I went to set it down, the glass is covering up where my holes are. So I have to be careful when you're going to do something like this. I mean, obviously this sits perfect
flower
and
pot
it's
just
not
sits right
going
in
to
there, yeah.
ever come in contact or block a hole. But doing it this way, you might. So, you kind of want to, oh, well, it's
You
probably
broke off your
better.
little
Yeah.
thing,
So you want to put this on here and then make sure, but I had it filled with glass, so I was able to kind of feel around and make sure I wasn't blocking a hole. But what I realized, if I before I filled it, I would have set it on here, taken my Sharpie and just made a mark on both sides. I could have just saved a little time and just set it right back in within
what
that.
good,
Yeah, and so because you definitely don't, want to block a hole. And this one actually didn't give me a whole lot of
Yeah, there's not a lot of
breathing
room.
room.
I was noticing
yeah.
that. Not a lot of room there.
Yeah.
So what Val's using here to set this up are called dams, and so these are hybrid
dams.
hot dams, even better.
I like that.
Is that what they're really called? Hot dams?
That's what I call them. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna Google that later just to see what comes up.
I think it might
So-
be, but okay.
Okay, good. Well, that's why we're renaming them anyway.
Yeah, I'm saying if it's not, it should be.
It
They
should
should be called that.
But they're made out of a high refractory, kind of a ceramic material. So, I mean, you can use them a million times unless you
Oh, yeah.
drop them and break them or something. But they're great for this sort of thing when you're looking for supporting stuff or you're looking at damming things so, the glass doesn't spread or do whatever.
Right, and
But it was-
if you aren't sure how much you're really going to spread out and you're a little worried about going over the shelf
Yeah.
of your kiln with, I mean, these also, if you had extra ones of these also work on the,
Just keep breaking that.
they work, by doing like this,
Oh, yeah, you could also just
and you could
block
make a
the glass
little
so it wasn't...
rectangle or a little thing around just so that it can't go anywhere that you don't want it to go.
I'm afraid you're going to get poked on that.
Well, I'm probably going to knock something else over. So.
It's all right. It's all right.
A little bit.
So the other thing I want to talk about real quick too is that I'm guessing we're not getting too many questions on this, but because we're doing such a great job explaining it that but the glass does stay in there. So we did not. These are not kiln washed, or we didn't use the boron spray on them. You use them just au natural.
Yeah.
And then, so you just put the glass in. That's how I didn't want to have to say that on camera.
It was okay.
Was it?
It's okay.
It's all right.
It wasn't
So
offensive.
you'll notice the glass kind of sticks, right? So the only slight negative thing is that now this one's kind of color coded, and so as long as you're using it for blues and purples, you can continue on and just keep reusing it until you're tired of it, I guess. But if you do, if I was going to start putting some oranges and yellows in here, you could see where that was going to start muddy up the color and change the color a little bit. I know that, I don't know if you did, but I often put a lot of clear in mine when I'm doing
I did
them.
put a lot of clear in mine, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hard to tell from looking at the pieces, but a lot of times Val and I have learned over the years that dark colors are really dominant. I mean, if you put in any black. You just want a little bit of black because it will just make everything really dark.
People have a lot of clear scrap.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I generate so much clear. Cutting circles or cutting, it just seems like there's always an abundance of clear scrap, and I think it's a great way to use it. And I did use that to kind of divide my orange in my pieces.
Yeah, I did it with a smaller one. I did a smaller one over here. So here's another little pot mold that we sell at Delphi. It's actually, I think, currently a special order, but I always thought it was such a cool idea.
It is a cool idea.
It's really designed for using like little bits of scrap that you have. One of the things that I often do, I know you and I, we haven't really talked about it, but I sometimes just put I take some scrap clear and cover the holes in case you're working with really small pieces and you're afraid they're going to fall through the hole, right? Just cover it with some clear. That works pretty well. But this piece here, if you can see, this one was done out of this little mold. So what's interesting about this mold is, so you put your glass here on the top, and then as it melts through, it actually melts inside this, and then you pull it off, and so this acts as the dam. This was...
It keeps it shaped.
It keeps its shape, right? This was only like 3/4 of a pound of glass, right? So,
wow.
and you can see it's thicker than a 1/4 inch because it's being dammed by this. So it's possible I could have got away with a little less. The recommendation for this particular mold, though, is you do spray it with the zip, with the boron nitride, right? And so we have some zip here. I wanted to show you guys that I used. And you have to spray not only this surface, but you have to spray inside here, so that way the glass will come out. And again, one of the things is that glass shrinks a little bit more than ceramic when it cools. And to be honest, I was like surprised how easy it came out. I really just picked it up,
and
I was
how
like,
little,
wow.
how there's no
Yeah,
glass
there's hardly
left.
no glass here in the top. So all that sounds real good, right? And so some people might ask, well, then why aren't we spraying the bigger ones? There's a downside to using the zip spray. One is that as the glass falls through these holes, it drags some of the boron powder with it, and it gets in the glass. This one's not so noticeable because I added white glass because I knew that was going to happen. So I just added some white glass, which kind of hides the fact that there's some boron in there. I know you guys probably can't see this too well through the camera, but there's a little bit of boron on the surface. If it really bugged me, I could sandblast it. I thought about sandblasting it to try to get rid of that little residue that's on the surface. But, and some of it's probably in the glass I probably can't get out, to be honest. But the white that I put in there kind of helps hide that a bit, so it's not as noticeable. This was another one you could see where I kind of did it in quadrants. Well, I didn't really do this piece, actually. I talked Isabel into doing it for me, but she did a great job. And we kind of put the colors in quadrants, and you can see you get this sort of thing. This is the one that she was saying it might be nice kind of cut up. So people, as Val mentioned real early on, right, was that sometimes we just leave the pot melt like it is, and other times we'll take like a tile saw and cut it into shapes and then use those shapes into something else. I mean, there was a customer of ours that was making lots of jewelry with it, I remember, and doing some really nice jewelry pieces that look almost like they're blown or something, right? They don't look like your traditional fused glass because of all the patterning that you can get from doing pot melts.
Good.
Yeah, what else was so...
What
talked
else?
About that.
Yeah, I don't...
In your notes.
What about the, I think the other thing we should hit on is the kiln wash versus the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, too, right? So what we're talking about is, the glass drips onto a shelf, right? So then the question is, what's on the shelf, right? I mean, the options are kiln wash or some kind of kiln paper, right? So...
There has to be a barrier there.
There has to be a barrier, right, or it'll stick to the shelf. And, the other thing is, I think I said it once, but really, for these, we're going about 1,600 degrees because you want to get the glass really molten so that it can drip through, the hole, right? So at 1,600, it's pretty hot, and our experience has been if we kiln wash the shelf, which works actually, I mean, it's a great barrier, but the kiln wash sticks to the glass almost every single time, which... It's just something you have to clean off afterwards, which, takes a moment or two. And people that know me know I'm really impatient, and I hate having to clean the kiln wash off, right? That's not much fun. But so then Val and I both use fiber paper or kiln paper or whatever you want to call it. They're usually the real thin stuff, right? Is that what you use?
The very thin stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I use. And it actually...
Do you use one layer or two layers?
I just use one, and it lifted right off.
Yeah. And is your shelf kiln washed?
it has been, but it's in dire need of being
Yeah.
rewashed.
Yeah, that's the way I do it too,
Yeah.
right? So I would, even if you're using the paper, your shelf should be kiln washed anyways. It's kind of like a backup in case something goes on with the paper. So the slight disadvantage to the paper is, so as the glass comes down and hits the shelf, it starts to spread out, and it can sometimes move the fiber paper. I mean, what I've heard from people is that there's a risk that it can then stick to the shelf, but I personally haven't witnessed that. Have you?
No, mine was. I mean,
Yeah.
this one was perfect. I
Did you look at the back of it? Do you see, like, sometimes people are concerned that maybe there's some fiber paper that is stuck in the glass, which is possible on mine. If you see some of these, but that could just be a different color glass, right?
yeah. See, I have some.
Yeah. Sometimes you get a little paper. That's what's sticking on the back. But this also, what I use sometimes is just some wet dry sandpaper, right? You can just run some wet dry sandpaper on the back of it. Get a really, not anything coarse, but 200, 400 grit wet dry sandpaper, and you can just smooth that out, take that right off. But most time I feel like it's the back who sees
Right.
the back, right? Most of the time.
Right, but like you say, you can clean it out. So
Yeah, that's pretty easy to clean out. I actually use 2 pieces of paper because I'm like super paranoid, but probably not necessary. But probably could have got away with just one.
okay. Well,
What else you got? Is that it?
I got nothing.
Man, nothing.
Another question.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So when they're kind of half full like that,
Yeah.
can you refire them to get it
Oh,
more in?
that's a good question, Noah. Yeah, we can. Like, Val was talking about, even if it was more full than this, as long as the pot hasn't cracked, you can reuse it. Our recommendation would just be when you're ramping up is to go slow. Go real slow so you're not going to get the glass and the crack, because the glass and the ceramic are moving right at different rates as they expand, and we want them, you can run into some issues. So what would you say, 200, 150?
The ramp?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the ramp, an hour.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, between 150. I probably, if you really, really cared about it, I would just go to 150, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
kind
If
of
you don't
want
care about the time, right? How
Yeah,
long
and
it
if you're
how
kind
long
of
it takes
thinking,
you to-
if it works, then I'd go try the 200. But if I was really trying to be conservative, yeah.
But I wouldn't go faster than 200 if you already have glass in there, right? So I know Val and I tend to be a little weird, tend to be, I think, on the conservative side when you say, when we're ramping up a lot of times, just because, if something takes a little bit longer to run in your kiln, and you greatly reduce the risk of things cracking, it's probably better off in the long run, right?
Yeah, and it is one of those things too that you get, like I said, we have those directions online, on our website. But you printed them, and I took one home, and you did yours
Yeah.
here or whatever, and we both said to each other when the next day, did you follow that schedule? And both of us said no.
Yeah,
I mean,
didn't
we
follow
did
exactly how it
close.
came
I mean,
close,
this
but-
is the thing, and this is one of the things too that in class and that we tell people around here. I guess we're unique sometimes because we've done this for so long and we've done it wrong so many times that we've altered what we're doing and that kind of thing. But I never look at someone else's firing schedule and just automatically do it. I'm always thinking about how much glass I have, what glass I'm using, and what I want to try to
Yeah.
accomplish. And so
And what your kiln is like, right? I mean,
exactly.
you're
And
familiar
so
with your kiln.
the main thing I changed in this firing schedule, there were two. The main thing was the ramp, the raising of the temperature. There was no reason to go 300 degrees an hour, so I went 350. I was like wanting to go 400, but then I thought, oh, I might crack. So, I mean, there's all this thought process that always, and sometimes, to be quite honest, it's ridiculous, to fixate
To
on.
overthink,
Yeah,
it's
overthink
easy to
everything.
overthink everything.
But, and then the annealing, you and I both did it and didn't know it, but we both
Yeah, we both bumped up the
bump the
annealing.
annealing because you're not going to hurt it by doing that. But if you're, because I think also sometimes you're not really sure how thin it got. And if it stayed thicker, that first 30-minute annealing probably wouldn't have been longer. Long
Yeah,
enough. So
yeah. I think
anyway,
at 9 inches, right? I think like a half hour was not
yeah.
long enough.
So my point is our firing schedules aren't like in stone. Just
Nobody's,
think about
right?
what you're doing and use it as a base to make some decisions. But
Yeah. And if you have questions, I think Val and I are both happy to have you guys, you can reach us out if you got questions about firing schedules. I talk to somebody probably almost daily about a firing schedule that they're working on. And so, we're happy to offer advice. Again, we're not saying that what we're saying is the best or, it's the gospel
absolutely
truth
not.
or something, but we think I always feel like
But
I
it
can
works
help
for us,
people
yeah.
get close to what they're trying to do, and then you'll have to go the rest of the way by getting used to your kiln and adjusting as you need to. But we're happy
Yeah.
to help out. So if you have questions for us about this or about what we did today or about what you're doing at home or maybe a new topic that you would like us to cover, I heard some nice comments from people, so thank you for watching. We appreciate you guys watching, and we do it really just because
We feel
we're
really
just-
stupid
we're
if
trying to
nobody
get-
was watching.
We're trying to get some information out and help people out. So if you have topics, get a hold of us. You can always email us at facebook@delphiglass.com. You can always message us on Instagram and other places like that. And Facebook too. What else? Was that it?
I think that's.
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to say, like, everything you see here is available, believe it or not.
Oh,
Most
okay.
of the stuff is available here. Most of, the kiln posts, all the dams, all these nice pots that you can get on delphiglass.com.
Exactly.
So,
And we did discuss before we started to film that they're not bad priced.
yeah,
I think they're real reasonable. So.
so do I, actually. And like I was saying, the only slight negative might be that you kind of color code them, but for the price, if you had 2 or 3 of them, that's probably about all you would need, right? And you
Yeah.
could just always kind of do the colors that you wanted. And as I mentioned earlier, and I know Noah said it's great. What a great way to use up your scrap, right? If you got buckets of it, I'm sure at
Sure,
home
yep.
like I do, you
Yep.
gotta do something with it. So,
Yeah.
well, thanks.
Thanks, yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the next Delphi Live.